Next, let's talk about rhythm and blues. So first, to talk about rhythm and blues, we have to talk about blues. Blues is a Black American musical style that originated out of spirituals and work songs, all the way back into pre-Civil War times. Now, blues around the turn of the century into the 1900s was rapidly popularized through sheet music publication. Just one song after another that was blues this, blues that. Even songs that would be called blues that had nothing to do musically with the blues. One thing that the blues all had in common, other than some musical characteristics that were similar, was the expression of deep personal emotions and life problems. In general, just giving voice to these life situations that the singers experienced. Additionally, it allowed the singers to express their sorrow, their dismay at social injustice in the world. For example, there's the song Take This Hammer, recorded by Huddle Leadbelly Ledbetter, which is a musical repudiation of forced prison labor in the South, mostly of black men. Now, like spirituals, these blues songs encoded hopes for social justice within its imagery and its vernacular. So even though it may not have been made to be understood or be accessible generally, especially to white American audiences, it encoded these messages that would then be passed along through music. So now we get to talking about rhythm in blues. Now this term, rhythm and blues, originated in the 1940s as a replacement for the term race music. So let's pause on that a little bit, because that might be something that is unfamiliar to you. So in the United States music industry, a term race music started to get applied as an umbrella term for all Black American music of any style in the early 1900s. So by the 1940s, I guess cultural sensibilities started to shift enough so that they decided to replace the term race music, but in its place put in rhythm and blues as a new umbrella term. So rhythm and blues, or R&B as it became to be known, has been used to encompass styles as diverse as boogie woogie, swing, jazz, gospel, and the blues. Even to this day, things as diverse as soul and hip-hop and funk and many other genres. So even today, we still see rhythm and blues used as this wide umbrella term for musical genres that have been in some way associated with or originating from Black communities. Now I want to pause here and just riff on this a little bit. In linguistics and in semiotics, there's a term known as markedness. Markedness is something that distinguishes something against a more default. So for example, you might have a cow that could be either male or female, but if you specify a bull, that term is marked against a specifically female cow. So then you would have a bull and a cow, bull being male and the cow there being female. So why do I bring up markedness? Well, race music and rhythm and blues both have become terms that are basically marking terms. They implement some of this markedness that I just talked about for music that is created by Black communities or by Black artists. So what does it mean to call a particular artist or a particular record or genre rhythm and blues? A lot of times what it means is that it's associated with Black artists and the Black communities, and that's what it amounts to. This point really landed strongly with me when developing next week's material on the origins of rock and roll. I would see writers or commentators refer to artists like Fats Domino, Little Richard, and Chuck Berry, all of whom are Black, as rhythm and blues artists, whereas they would refer to artists such as Elvis Presley or Bill Haley and his Comets as rock and roll artists. However, musically speaking, in terms of the parameters and the elements of music that I described to you last week, the sound of these artists was really not far apart from each other in this time period at all. They have more in common than more that separates them. So what was it that made the writers ascribe to some of these artists as rhythm and blues, while other artists were called rock and roll? Well, the answer was race. They called the Black artists rhythm and blues, while the white artists were called rockers, or rock and roll. And sadly, we see this dynamic pattern all the way up through rock music history, right onto the present, where white artists, especially white male artists, get to be described as rock musicians, whereas Black artists might be called other things like Motown, rhythm and blues, soul, hip-hop, and again, right on to the present when we see sort of this prominence of rhythm and blues, but the term still gets used in many ways as a blanket term to cover just a multitude of different genres, the only thing in common being that they are associated with Black communities. So because of that, it's difficult to describe rhythm and blues as a musical genre as such. Rather, it becomes this general umbrella term to describe a number of different genres associated with Black musicians. However, musically, rhythm and blues does become known for emphasizing rhythmic groove as a very important parameter, with more emotionally free and expressive vocals. Now that